morning after visiting Everest Basecamp, the itinerary called for us to climb to the top of Kalapathar for our best view of Everest and the highest elevation of my entire trip. Everyone but a boss made it clear they weren't interested in the early morning climb. I was still planning on going until even a boss backed out. The elevation was still messing with my appetite, so I had no energy. So instead of a pre-dawn hike to the top, I slept in until breakfast. Of course, it was all downhill, so there was lots of time to talk. I learned about Sonam. Like his uncle, he is ethnically a Sherpa, but as a Nepali, he has the right to try out for the Gurkha Brigade in the British Army. He is planning on going through the rigorous trials when he turns 20 years old. My respect for this capable, strong, and mature young man kept growing. Paul, the kids, and I hiked up front with Sonam. Insiya and Hussein were going slow, so Surin stayed with them in the back. After the memorial at Thukla, we took a different way down the mountain. We headed down a draw into a valley where Ferishe sits. It's a nice village. The outskirts of Ferishe had lots of yak corrals. During the right time of year, baby yaks are raised there. Since we were way ahead and we needed to wait for everyone to catch up to have lunch, I pulled out my zip chip and played with the kids. We had lots of fun throwing it around, but when it went astray, it was tough to find in the bushes. By the time we got to Ferishe, my appetite was back. I got a huge pile of rice for lunch and I scarfed it down. I think everyone's altitude sickness symptoms were gone, but for Hussein. At lunch, we found out that Insiya wasn't doing well for a different reason. Downhill was killing her legs. She had to go really slow the rest of the way.
You're a funny guy. All right. Show me your footwork.
After lunch, on a stretch of trail next to a long drop to the river below, we broke into a spontaneous rock throwing competition. No surprise, Sonam was the clear winner. He was able to reach the water down below a few times. Surin even got into the act when he caught up. We stopped for the night at the same Pengbuche guest house that had the crazy cute kid on horseback a few days earlier. During the night, the local dogs went a little crazy. In the morning, Hussein was over his altitude sickness and was able to enjoy a proper meal. As we left Pengbuche, we passed a carry me back kiosk where I grabbed a kilo of recyclable bottles to carry back to Lukla. As we crossed the first suspension bridge after Pengbuche, we could see a wrecked suspension bridge in the gorge below. At Tengbuche, we stopped once again at the monastery. This time I remembered to log a geocache stop that was there. It was here when Insiya caught up that we found out just how bad her knees had gotten. There was talk of taking emergency measures. Right past here we saw the national bird of Nepal. It was obscured by the underbrush, but Sonam assured us we were indeed looking at the Himalayan monal. Can you believe a porter was carrying this lumber? At a resting place, I got a good look at the mechanism that spins the water-powered prayer wheels. At the village of Fungi Thenga, I ran into Raj, my guide from the Annapurna trek. He and Surin knew each other well, and they talked quite a bit. I introduced Sonam to Raj. I thought Raj, who is ethnically a Gurkha, would be interested to know that Sonam hoped to join the Gurkha Brigade. Raj introduced me to a couple of the trekkers who were also middle-aged men who worked in tech. Turns out I worked at Sun Microsystems at the same time as one of the gentlemen. Near Fungi Thenga is an army base. Sonam was interested in the soldiers' guns, and the soldiers seemed interested in Umihani. After Fungithenga, Umahani, Abbas, Paul, and I went ahead with Sonam again. We wouldn't see Hussein, Insiya, and Surin again until it got dark. I caught Sonam in a couple of candid shots where it seemed being responsible for us all weighed heavy on him. The rest of the hike that day was pleasant, and Umahani settled an age-old question.
What happens when you poke a yak?
We got back to Namche Bazaar a little after 3 p.m. The guest house where we stayed at on the way to base camp was full. Construction across the path from the guest house seemed to be coming along quite a bit in the few days that we were gone. Insiya wasn't doing well. She and her escorts didn't arrive until darkness was settling in on Namche Bazaar. To get anywhere, especially downhill, Insiya needed at least one person at her side. Surin found us a different guest house high over the town. The guest house was very nice and very old. So old that the doors had old-timey keyholes you could see right through. Hussein headed to the village clinic to get a doctor to visit Insiya and to officially diagnose her condition. The rest of the family stayed in to comfort her. Paul and I went out with Surin and the porters. I wanted to go back to the Hungry Yak, but the porters get a discount at the Irish pub. The next morning, we'd have tough decisions to make.